I wanted to get this out because I think it's important. So in a couple podcasts ago, you were speaking about, when you're talking on, this is just a clip of an hour and a half, right? But you're speaking about, sometimes you're giving a message out there to students or players, and it seems like it couldn't be any clearer, couldn't be any whatever, and for some reason, something basically fairly simple gets lost, and they just don't do it correctly, and I totally know what you're saying, and whatever, but we had and I respect this guy. So Brett Sopel, who played in the NHL quite a bit, he was a very tough kid, tough player, and a good player. He made a comment, and I just wanted to address it because he said it's not so. I forget what the term.
Straightforward.
It's not so straightforward for someone like myself that has had dyslexia.
Yeah.
Sorry, and other learning disabilities. And I read it, and I'm like, I'm saying this very sincerely. You forget, and that's something that seeing that. I don't know. I don't know if the tone of that. The tone was. I think the tone of that was like, "Hey guys, don't forget. There's people here that just can't learn." And my point to that is, us as coaches in general, it's so easy for us to just look at that and say, like, why can't this guy get a drill without ever? Because I would never do it. Well, I wouldn't say maybe this person just doesn't understand, like has a learning disability. Like I can understand someone not understanding when you draw out a drill, because like I'm like, let me see something first unless I know it. So I just wanted to point out, and this is a promise I make, is that when I do see someone struggling or seems like they don't get it the first couple times, I'm not going to go out and ask if they have a disability, but I'm going to, no, because I don't want to be like, I'm being sincere here. I don't want to say, do you have dyslexia or something? Because that's, but I think I'm going to make a much, much better effort to maybe understand that side. And I think it just makes me a better coach. It will make me a better coach, because I think, because I've heard Brett talk a couple times on podcasts, and I think what happens is people just don't assume that could be a thing, and they come across as like he said, that everyone made me feel like I was stupid. And he's not stupid at all. He's actually very smart because he overcame a lot of this stuff, right? So I don't want to be the one that keeps making someone, if that was a thing, to make someone feel like they're dumb in my eyes, because especially if they have a disability, right? They might need some help. So I think it's just important that for anybody that is around that, maybe it's something to keep aware of, because we spend so much time, like society spends so much time on these other aspects of life, right? Like there's every kid matters, which 100%, and the rainbow and all these different things, like everything's so included. And then you take someone like, and you take something like a learning disability and stuff, and I would never think of that because I don't have it. Like, right? I don't have that. I don't think I do, but I think it's important to address that or be aware of it. So I'm just, maybe it's creating awareness, but for myself, if I ever do get frustrated, which I do sometimes, maybe I have to step back as a coach and just say, okay, maybe I just have a talk with the kid and just see where he's at with things. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, I think there's with that comment specifically and the other things, like this is why people are a part of these movements, because it's like the problem with, not I'm going to solve society's problems here, but like we make rules for the majority of people, right? Because there's no better way to make rules than for what applies to most people, right? When you do that, it neglects people that aren't in the majority. So if you have a specific thing about you that is different, whether it's a learning disability or some kind of language barrier or cultural difference or whatever it is, those things are not usually accounted for in the majority rule, right? Because it's hard to account for every individual variance on everything, So that's why it's important that you have people like this that are trying to give you reminders, but like, there's also these people that don't fit in the way that you do things that need to be accounted for. So they're not just left behind or unable to participate or not able to contribute or whatever, and that's why there's so many of these types of communities and initiatives that try to do this kind of stuff, which is a good thing, right? It makes sense to try to do that. but in that clip in particular, I wasn't even going so far as to the, and you can't really tell from the clip.
Yeah,
So I get,
you weren't being a
no,
jerk.
no,
You were just stating like, it's very simple.
I,
Just do it.
I was
Yep.
going to, I was doing a majority rule thing, right?
100%.
Like this is very straightforward. But the point of my clip was even for kids that are in the majority, me saying something, giving an instruction that is very straightforward by like any objective metric as an adult, for the kids is not that straightforward. That's was my whole point. So even I'm not even saying for a kid that has an extra thing on top of that, it's even more challenging. But for even just the baseline of kids that are in the majority that don't have anything particularly different about them, they still have a hard time grasping it. So not even just drawing attention to the special cases, but just in general, as a coach, to your point, it's so easy to not have patience for that stuff, because you forget what it's like to not be able to adapt in real time to instruction because you're not old enough or mature enough or have enough experience to comprehend what these instructions are. So whether it's these, these I don't want to say rare cases because they're not even that rare. Like a lot of people have something specific, a
Well, you
specific
could
need.
have like for example, it was last summer before. I'm so proud of my kid at this point. We're on the ice in an early skate, early in the morning, not early in the morning, 7 o'clock, whatever. And it was a group of like 12 to 15 kids, and I was looking, and the one kid appeared um, just like as a coach, off, like just like, oh, come on, man, right? And Charlie looked at him. That's my kid, and he looked and he goes, "Oh, Dad, look at his skates. They're hardly even tied." So I went up to him. And I go, "Dude, what'd you do to your skates? Like, did you tie your skates?" He goes, "Yeah, little kid, right? Not like 10, 11." And like, so Charlie grabbed him and he talked to him. He talked a little bit, and found out he had, I think it was autism, but the kid was trying his heart off. So my son, I just loved it to death. He just really took this kid under his wing and just tried to make him feel good. And the kid spent a lot of the time that summer with us, and he just worked hard. And then when you realize it's like, okay, he's not disruptive. He's got a different issue than other people, right? Which is hard for a lot of coaches when you're trying to run 20 guys. You have one person, like let's say it's an ADHD, let's say, or something. Like, is it ADHD or you just don't care? Like that's the way when I like going on what Brett said. It's like you got to be sensitive to it to a point at least to sit there and say, or you just don't care, or is it something else, and you have to address it a different way. Anyways, just being aware of stuff.
Yeah, for sure. That's something that I've tried to really, really keep at the forefront. Like I said in that last episode, of just like understanding the audience. It's like even when, like, not to pick on you here, but even when I'm talking to you and Mac, I notice it's like when we're having conversations, both of you guys, like you like get up and walk around and you need to pick something up and then put it down and wander, and then we get off track and then we get back on track and like all this stuff. And like in my head, because I'm not like that, I could be like, could we just have a conversation and sit down, man? Right? Like Mac, you should see Mac this morning, man. Like buzzing around, we're talking. He's picking up a pencil, looking in the boxes, like, dude. And it's like, I get that that's how you guys operate. Like, it's fine, But if I say, well, how come you don't have the same brain that I have, and like it pisses me off, that's what happens with a lot of coaches when they're dealing with kids. It's like this kid is they have a hard time paying attention, or they just want to play and mess around, man, or whatever, and you're not actually understanding who it is that you're speaking to, then you're going to drive yourself crazy. It's going to make it really, really difficult to try to be successful in teaching them whatever they're capable of being taught if you're not actually understanding who the audience is that you're talking to. So it is super important to try to keep that like at the front of your mind when you're in those situations. Anything else you want to like finish up on that? Or
no, I just wanted to bring that aware. Like I'm thankful that Brett pointed that out, because it's something that would just go over my head, and sometimes you need reminders, and just being open minded. It's like that's where I think it's maybe I'll give myself credit to say, oh, you can be better, and it's something that I will be better at, like 100%, because it hurts people, right? And the last thing, like I always say to you, like at the end of the day, when I'm spending time with all these hockey players over years, I want these people at the end of the day, when they see me having a beer somewhere or having a coffee somewhere, going out for a walk somewhere, whatever it is, I want them to be happy to see me, not there's that jackass,